Hello guys, in this video I will show you how to connect to GNOME desktop environment using RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. For this demonstration I will use my laptop, which is the client, and the virtual machine with Manjaro Linux installed, GNOME desktop environment, which is the host. Let's get started. Since the display server on GNOME desktop environment is Wayland only, we can't install xrdp because it requires xdisplay server. To verify this, you need to right-click mouse button on the desktop or locate the icon Show Apps, go to Settings, navigate to System, About, go to System Details, and as we can see, GNOME does use Wayland as the windowing system. GNOME desktop environment has built-in RDP server. To enable it, open the settings, go to System, Remote Desktop. You can use one or more of the following options. Desktop sharing allows remote clients to connect to the remote computer of the current Linux user that is currently logged in on the server. To view the image on the remote desktop window, you need to enable desktop sharing option. To allow the remote user to control your screen, set remote control to on. Set a username and a password in the login details. Remote clients must enter these credentials when connecting to your remote desktop from a client computer. Let's type the username and the password that are set for the current user. Sometimes you have to enter the username with lowercase only, otherwise you may run into issues. We need to determine an IP address of Manjaro Linux machine to connect to remote PC. Let's open the terminal and type command IP addr or IP address. This is the IP address of the host computer. On the client computer, make sure you can reach that IP address. Let's type command ping 192.168.122.119, count 30. As we can see, we can reach that IP address. We are on the terminal and we will use FreeRDP to connect to remote PC. Both computers should be connected to the network, otherwise you won't be able to connect to the host computer. Let's type command xFreeRDP3 user, width of the screen, height of the screen, address, IP address, dynamic resolution /sound :c :pulse. Let's type the password, and we have successfully connected to Manjaro Linux machine with using desktop sharing option. Dynamic resolution option means every time you change the size of the window, the size of the remote desktop session changes. Dynamic resolution doesn't work when using desktop sharing on GNOME Remote Desktop. This is the first option of connecting to GNOME desktop environment. Desktop sharing option means every action performed by the user on the remote desktop will be synchronized to the host computer. It is important that the remote control setting should be enabled. Let's see what happens if you forget to enable this option. As you can see, without this option you won't be able to do any actions on remote desktop session. The command starting with /sound is the audio redirection from remote computer to the client computer. As we can see, we can hear the sound on remote desktop session. Remote login allows remote clients to open the GNOME login screen where they can log in as a Linux user with correct credentials. If desktop sharing and remote login are configured on GNOME desktop environment, we will see changes of the number of the port. For example, the port number for desktop sharing is 3389. Let's enter the password. Authenticate. If we configure remote login, the port number for desktop sharing changes. For remote login 3389, for desktop sharing 3390. For remote login you have to type the same username and the same password that are set for the current Linux user, the same as was in the desktop sharing option. It is optional to write :3389 because the port 3389 is used by default. But if you connect to remote desktop with another port, you need to type :3390 after an IP address. Let's connect to Manjaro Linux with GNOME desktop environment with port 3389 by default, but this time with remote login option. Yes, let's type the password. There is one important thing to consider. When using remote login on the GNOME desktop environment, you have to log out of your Linux machine before connecting. If you try to connect to the IP address, but you haven't logged out on the host computer, we will get the message: session is already running. So log out first and then connect to the remote desktop. So let's go to the host computer and log out of the Linux machine. And on the client computer, connect to GNOME desktop environment, entering the password. This is how remote login option works. This is how to connect to GNOME desktop environment using RDP, both ways. I hope this information was helpful. If you like this video, press the like button and subscribe to my channel to see more upcoming videos. See you next time. Bye.